Welcome to the Real Estate Mastery Podcast, where seasoned investors, savvy entrepreneurs, and business moguls converge to share invaluable insights, strategies, and stories in the world of investing. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just dipping your toes into the market, join us on this journey where knowledge meets entertainment and education fuels your entrepreneurial spirit. Each episode features engaging discussions, informative interviews, and real-life case studies that offer a unique blend of education and entertainment with our host, Jason Chrisman.
Today we're here with a guest, 18 years old. His name is Andrea.
How's everybody doing? Thank you very much for having me, Jason. Happy to be here.
Of course, thank you for coming on the show. So I want to jump right into it. You're 18 years old, is that correct?
Yes.
And you're making $40,000 to $60,000 a month living in London.
Yes.
What are you doing?
A couple things. Right now, main thing is running a reinvented agency where we just help pretty much rich people get even richer. And now I'm getting into helping other people do the exact same as well, teaching fellow young entrepreneurs.
That's awesome. Explain to us one of your businesses of what you're doing. You're not in the copyright business. We went over that. We did all that. You're in what's called a reinvested agency. It's an SMA business. For people out there that don't understand or know what that is, break that down as fine as you possibly can for us.
All right. So the overall, the surface level, it's called SMA, so social media marketing. It's blown up over the last couple of years. In 2021, it blew up. And the overall definition of it is you're the middleman. So there's a niche. Let's say you're going after online fitness coaches. They struggle with a problem, and you run their marketing, you run their ads, and you don't actually do the work yourself. You outsource it to a person in India or the Philippines, somewhat of a third world country, where they do the work for you and you keep 80, 90% margins. That's what I got into when I was 15, 16 years old. Tried that for a year and it didn't work out. And that's when I transitioned over to what I now call a reinvented agency, where it's still similar to SMA, but we just do the opposite of what everyone in the SMA world is being told to do. The way we get clients, the way we get results is absolutely different because SMA has just become too saturated to work in 24.
Sure. So instead of blending in, you really want to stand out. You want to be that 1 out of 1,000 instead of 999 out of 1,000. I completely get that. And that's how you stand out in life. Now, are you reinventing the wheel here or are you just going with the flow?
So when I was running the SMA, I saw what worked, what didn't, because I did it on my own for 8 months. Then I worked for a larger agency that was making a good amount of money. They were between 100 and 200K a month. And I just saw how they operated and realized that what all these gurus and all these courses told you to do wasn't actually what these big agencies were doing. And then when I turned 16, I left. And then I slowly started reinventing the wheel, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't. And just what I was being told to do in these courses that I bought, I did the exact opposite. They would tell me to send cold DMs. I didn't do that. They told me to charge money up front. I didn't do that. Slowly blew up. Like in 3 months, I was at 10K a month, which for me was life-changing at the time. And slowly I've developed that whole business model, what it's now called a reinvented agency. So it is still an agency on surface level, but everything else is pretty much different.
So what are you doing? Are you helping other companies to get clients and customers? Is that exactly what you're doing?
So for me, the niche I go after is online fitness coaches. That's just the one I chose, but I've got students going after realtors, lawyers, plumbers, whatever it is. For me, online fitness coaches, the first thing I do is figure out what is the big thing they're struggling with. What is their $1 million problem? Everyone wants more clients, but why can't they get more clients? That's a question you got to ask yourself. And for fitness coaches, it was just that they could not book enough sales calls. No matter what they did, how much content they posted, they couldn't book sales calls. So for me, I went away, found a solution to that, which was a certain type of Instagram ad. It's called macros ads. So all these bigger fitness coaches make $1 million, $2 million a month for doing that. And I realized it. And then I started offering that to smaller fitness coaches who are stuck at like a 3 to 5K mark. And I just run the ads for them and I book sales calls on their calendar. So all they got to do is get up in the morning, get on calls, close them, and then they pay me after.
So they don't pay you out based on the calls that you get them. They pay you out based on the closed leads that you bring them, right? The ones who sign up and pay money for them?
So right now, recently, we switched to an upfront payment where it's $4K for 4 months. But in the past, it would be, hey, I'll get your results for 7 days. And once I actually get your results, you're going to pay me after that. But it comes down to you how you want to take payments. Some people are doing a revenue share where they don't ask for any money up front. But if the fitness coach, let's say, makes 20 grand in a month, the agency gets 2 or 3 grand, 10% or whatever. But for me, it's upfront right now.
Okay, I get that. And you didn't originally start out with that, like you just said. You originally did the 7 days. I get you business. I get you clients. Let's just say I made you 50 grand. You're going to give me $5,000 based on the 10%.
Yeah, exactly. Because at the start, you really have no authority, no credibility. Now I've got a portfolio of dozens of fitness coaches that got amazing results. So I'm speaking from a position of authority where I can ask for money up front. But in the past, when I was starting out, I couldn't really do that.
So $4,000 for 4 months is a general gist of what you're charging. Is there more than that? Is there a commission based on that as well? Are you making still a small percentage?
Right now, we have a no revenue share. In the past, we had it at 10K, then we dropped to a monthly fee where it's 1,500 a month. But for me right now, just a K a month or 4K for 4 months works the absolute best. Then on the back end, once we actually scale these fitness coaches up to 15, 20 grand a month, we do have an upsell where it's 3K a month and we help them with a closer. We install closer in their Instagram. We install an appointment setter and we kind of take over the whole process, the whole sales process. But we don't push that too much. That's only for the really good clients that we want to upsell.
And for somebody out there who wants to do this, what exactly do they need to get into this? Just a cell phone, a couple brain cells is what I heard you say before, right? And internet. Is that it?
That's literally it. I did this with Wi-Fi, phone, and an internet connection. You really do not need anything else. A lot of people have excuses like, oh, I live in a third world country or I'm too young. But that is just smoke screens and limiting beliefs that are holding them back.
100%. People, unfortunately, sometimes need their hand held and pushed into the right direction. And that's what coaching is. And you do offer coaching for students. Is that correct?
So we introduced a mentorship where I help young entrepreneurs do exactly what I did.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. A lot of people, they feel going out and learning it themselves is definitely difficult. You're going to waste 2, 3, 4, 5 years of your time. Meanwhile, that's going to cost you tens, if not hundreds of thousands, depending on how you value your time. Or you can go out and hire yourself a coach for a few thousand up to 10,000. And if you hire the right coach, you can really learn the game and learn how to skip all the mistakes and jump right to the front of the line. I do love that. So I wanted to get into, for people out there that are starting with absolutely nothing and want to get themselves to that $10,000 a month, what can they do to get themselves to 10K a month? And how quick on average would it take them? I know everybody's very different, but on average.
It really does go back to like what you just said. Anyone can probably achieve this on their own. If they put in the work, they can probably make 10K a month in the next 2-3 years. The whole point of getting a coach or getting a mentor is you skip the whole learning curve and you achieve that in 5-6 months. And you want to find someone who's been in your shoes and is now where you want to be at. But overall, if you really do put your head down, you learn a skill and you monetize that skill, 10K a month is very achievable 6 to 9 months. I don't want to be one of those gurus that says you can do it in 1 month. You probably can, but that is not the average thing that I see. Normally, it's between 6 to 9 months. The first month and 2, you're working on your skill, getting to know people, and then after that is when you can scale. But 6, I'd say, is the average.
I noticed you calling yourself a guru, but in past videos I've seen of yourself, you don't like to be called a guru, right?
Yeah, it really comes down to what you call the guru. Overall, the only reason I'm not a fan of it is because the term guru has had a really bad name in the last couple of years. So anyone who made $5,000 starts making a course, they sell that course and they consider themselves a guru. They're running Facebook ads and some rented Lamborghini, and that's overall what a definition of a guru is. But if you were to take the term with its base definition, I'm probably a guru, like helping other people make money. I think that's what the definition is. I'm just not a big fan of the term.
Absolutely. The more I see somebody putting out smoke, showing their yachts and their boats and things like that, yeah, of course, they might show you some way that they've gotten there, but they're not going to give you the proper attention that you need. They're not going to give you that one-on-one help that you really do need. They may have a course for you to come in, and they may pop a Zoom up once a month with 100, 200 members in there, and you can barely get your question in there. Explain your course to us. Do you offer one-on-one help? Do you have 100 people or 10 people in your Zooms? If somebody wanted to join and they wanted to learn how to get into the SMA business, the reinvented agency, how does that look like for coming into your platform?
Yeah, and honestly, the biggest thing we stress is exactly what you mentioned, because I've spent over like 30, 40K on education and courses, and the last thing I want to do is sell a pre-recorded course where you're just thrown in the dark and not giving it any guidance. And even though the Academy does have a course that comes with it with recorded videos, the main thing is literally the mentorship. So you have 24/7 access to me. You have a group where you can ask questions and I answer within a couple hours, and all the other students answer as well. Doesn't matter if they're making 0 or 15K a month. And then more importantly, we have group calls. We've got 4 group calls a week right now. Normally, it's between 5 and 15 people, depending on the day. We got to adjust for time zones, but those calls go up to like an hour, maybe even an hour and a half, to make sure I check in with everyone. Because it's not just a matter of, hey, ask your question if you got a question. I make sure to check in with every single person, because a lot of people do not want to ask questions. They're too shy. They just came in. They think it's a stupid question, even though there's no such thing. But that is the main thing for me, because it is a mentorship. We really are limited to how many guys we can let in. And I'm trying to work on that, because you can't really scale it when you're trying to make it one-on-one. So I might have to bring on some coaches so we don't sacrifice the quality of it. But it is a roadblock that we're encountering right now.
Absolutely, I get that. I brought in a coach on my platform just to make it a little bit easier. I might not be available 24/7, but with 2 coaches, we're definitely close to that 24/7. So how is it attaining wealth? You really got wealth in your life at a very young age. When did you start making that 40 to 60,000 a month? Is that at the age you are right now of 18, or was it even younger? Are you one of those people that couldn't even drive, making $40,000 a month? Because nowadays it's becoming more common than anything.
Yeah, so I made me 17 when I hit my 20K month, but then we went up to 26, but it wasn't really stable. Like we'd have 26, then we dropped down to 18, then we'd go to 24. It was just very inconsistent. I turned 18 in September, and then after that, it's pretty much been consistent 30K months. Then January, we hit 56. February was like 48, and we've just been stable around that range right now. Mainly, like some months, I say, hey, forget about revenue. Let's scale back, work on the product, make it really good so we can then skyrocket. Is I come from a really wealthy family. Like that's a big thing I have, big insecurity that I have, that I was pretty much born with a golden spoon in my mouth. So money doesn't really attract me that much. It's just more a matter of, let me do it. Why not? Like, what do I really lose?
All right, you just opened up a door for me, so I'm gonna dig into that a little bit. Okay, I hope you don't mind that, but I have to dig into it. What do your parents do for a living?
My parent is in construction and in logistics in Eastern Europe, in Georgia.
Okay, so they do very well. You got that golden spoon, as you said.
Yeah.
All right. My next question I would have for you might not really fit you, but we're going to ask it anyway. How has attaining wealth for yourself, not through your parents, but for yourself, how has that transformed different aspects of your life, personally and professionally? I know it's giving you more time. I know you state you work a few hours a day, which is phenomenal, right? That's the ultimate freedom. Freedom is not working 24 hours a day, making $40,000 a month. Freedom is working a few hours a day, if that, making $40,000 a month. So besides that point, which I know you're at, what else has changed in your life since you started making that money? Are the cars there? Are the girls there? Are the men there? What is it?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because that's something that I was really wondering when I was like 15, 16, and I really wanted to make money on my own, because I always had the thought in the back of my head that if I go back to Georgia, work with my father, obviously I'll make an absurd amount of money, but I want to do it on my own so I can prove to myself that I can achieve something without him. Because ultimately, I'll probably go back and work with him because there's just so much potential there. But I always would have that insecurity that I can only achieve this because of what my father did. It goes back to being the son of a king, but it's much, much harder to be ambitious and et cetera, compared to if you're born in nothing. And a lot of the bigger guys, they say themselves that it's really hard to be hungry when you come from a really good family. And that's something I struggle with to this day. Because even if I make 40K in a month, or if I make zero, my life really doesn't change. I still go back to Georgia. We still have every car known to mankind. I still party in the south of France. There's always the beautiful girls. Really nothing changes. The only difference is rather than paying with my dad's card, I pay with mine. And even though I thought I would care 4 years ago, right now, it really doesn't matter.
I think a lot of people would be very, very happy to be in the position that you're in and have the backup and security of the family. But I do respect you for not just sitting back like I think most people would do. They would sit back and not put the hustle and the drive and the dedicated devotion into building their own company and their own business. So I do give you the respect for that, saying that you could fall back on your parents and you don't. So that definitely shows the type of character that you have. Your parents raised you right. Kudos to them. That's awesome. What inspired you to do this? Well, why didn't you just live off your family? I know you just said you wanted to show you could do your own thing, but who are you showing that to? Yourself, your family, your friends, your loved ones? Who did you really want to prove that to?
That's a really good question again. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it as well and get a better understanding of why I did it and why I do what I do. Because at the start, I always say that it is for me, but subconsciously probably it was also to prove to my father that, hey, I can do this without you as well. Because he went from pretty much nothing to what he is now. So he wants to put that same learning lesson to me, my brother, and my two brothers. So he tries his best to not give us much and for us to understand that mentality of having nothing. But it's really hard to do, especially with all the opportunity we have. But it was more a matter of, I say to myself, it was a matter of me proving it to myself. Subconsciously, I also probably wanted to prove to my father that, hey, I can do this on my own and I don't really need you, even though that doesn't sound great.
You'll always need your parents. It doesn't matter how old we get. We always need our family at some extent, whether it's financial or whether it's emotional or physical support. We'll always need them. But again, I do respect to the place that you've gotten at such a young age. Most 18-year-olds today don't even have the mentality or the thought of, hey, how do I get to 10 grand a month? Nonetheless, of $50,000, $60,000 a month. So that's definitely respect. That's absolutely awesome that you have that hustle and drive. And I hope it stays with you. I really do. I hope you could surpass your family. When I first got into real estate, I had everybody in my ear telling me, oh, don't do it. You're going to waste all your money. And now I make more than everybody combined that I know. So ultimately, and I didn't come from a rich family. I came from a middle-class family. We struggled a bit, just like anybody else, but we were a middle class family. I went to a great high school, but I was not in a great town. We were right on the outskirts of that great town in the bad town. But you learn to shift and you learn to adjust. So my struggle, my success is a little bit different, much different actually than yours. I wanted to build that generational wealth. I wanted to bring that vision in for my children and that life for my children. I have 3 kids. 2 of them are very young girls. So I wanted to give that life to them. So again, that's awesome that you wanted to do that, build your own aspect and build your own business and build your own brand. That's absolutely awesome, especially at 18 years old, man. You're a big influence for younger generation, even the older generation. Do you have anybody in your group that's over the age of 40 that's making it, that's jumping away from their 9 to 5 and doing what you're doing today? Do you have anybody over that age?
We had one guy was like 48, but he didn't make he hit a standstill like 2-3K a month. We have a couple guys in their late 30s that do work 9 to 5 and are now thinking of quitting it, going after this full time. But yeah, it is also great to see because you can tell how much they hate doing what they do.
I get that. I completely understand that. Most people are not happy with their jobs, what they do. And ultimately, it's about the financial freedom. Again, it's not about the Lambos and the sports cars and the yachts and the mega mansions. It's really about just having that time and that not missing out on family aspects. I love that I get to wake up, have breakfast, lunch, and dinner with my children. I love that I get to read them the books at night. I love that I don't miss anything, their first steps, their first words. To me, that's what financial freedom is, being able to do that. And if my daughter even mentions Florida, the next day I can take her to Florida if I wanted to. That's financial freedom to me. Some other people, it might be a little bit different. It might be about the show, the game, the cars, but that life. And that's okay too. If you've built it and earned it, you deserve any life that you want. What advice would you give somebody starting out? Like, skip all the bullshit, all the learning curves, just jump into it. Say, look, I want to get there as fast as I possibly can. What advice would you give that person to pursue a similar path that you've done?
Number one, for me, the thing I stress the most is just being different from people in the online business world, but also being different from the people around you. Because when I was starting, I was in boarding school in Spain, and the people I surrounded myself with was a big thing that was holding me back. And I think it's the same for a lot of young entrepreneurs. When they're in a friend group and they're the only one that they have these ambitions, everyone around them makes fun of them. And like it or not, that plays a huge part on our mentality. And we start doubting ourselves. Hey, should I actually do this? My friends are telling me it doesn't work, that this guy's a scammer. My parents are telling me the only way to make money is get a 9-to-5 job and go to college. So the biggest thing I think is if you really want to do something, go 100% at it. And if you do it consistently for a long enough period of time, it is next to impossible that you don't make it work. As long as you don't give up. The consistency, I think, beats absolutely everything. But the number one thing is just being different from absolutely everyone else around you. Do not be average. The average person, even in the US, is $105,000 in debt and divorced. That's the example I normally use. So why would you want to be average?
Of course, yeah, you don't want to be average. And our worst enemy is really ourselves. And I hate to say this, but it's a fact and it's true. The people who are really going to drag you down the most are the people that are closest to you, whether it's family, whether it's friends. Those are the people that, and I don't think intentionally they mean to do it, but they do it. Oh, don't get into that. Whether it's a jealousy thing, whether it's they really feel that you're making a big mistake, you're throwing away your money or you're throwing away your life. Unfortunately, you have to block all the noise out. And that's what this podcast is about. It's about stop chasing what everybody wants and start listening to the people who have made it, to the people who have really done what you want to do or similar to what you want to do. Listen to the success. Jump that line straight to the success point, which is that person telling you what to do, how to do it, and just drive and get it done. The biggest thing with people, and I do see this in my group as well, and I see this in a ton of other groups, people want it, but they're not willing to put in the work and the effort to get it. Nothing is going to be handed to you in this world. If you want something, not only do you have to be better than the person next to you, you have to work twice as hard as the person next to you. There's no such thing as a free in and, oh, look, I made $1 million in this business and I did nothing. It doesn't exist. Of course, there's easier ways to get there, and that's where the mentorship comes in. Mentors are a great way. Again, if it's the right mentor, it is a great way to jump that learning curve, to skip that line, and to be the dog in that group, and to really scale it and grow yourself. So I completely agree with mentorships. All right, so every episode that we have, I like to ask a question, and you can't see the audience here, but all right, what does your future look like? Okay, so that's what they want to know. This is coming from Ben. What does your future look like? Is there Bentleys? There's Lambos? Are there yachts? Exactly where is your future headed for you? Are you that type of person that wants to have nice things, which is nothing wrong with that? What does your future look like, and where do you plan on taking this business? And do you plan on taking this business and growing it into other businesses as well? In other words, taking your seed and planting it in different directions. Maybe get into the game of real estate. The type of money that you're making, you can't just make that money and have it sit in the bank. It's not working for you. The minimal amount of interest you're making, and you're in London. What's the average rate that you're making on savings? Like what, 2, 3, 4%? It's about average.
I don't have to keep too much cash, but yeah, around there.
Okay, so you invest. What do you do with your money? How do you invest your money? What are you investing it into? Stocks, crypto, real estate? Tell us what you do with that money that you make.
Honestly, none of the big things. Like I don't stress. I haven't really sat down and learned much about multiplying the money you have, because most of my money goes back into either crypto. I've got about 55% in crypto now, but the other majority goes back to education. This month, just in April, I've spent about like $18K on just learning new skills. So copywriter, the YouTube coach, and then also for a sales thing for a video sales letter. So most of my money still goes back to reinvesting in education. So I obviously don't get much enjoyment from spending it on materialistic things, mainly because I've already had that my whole life.
That's great. You have to reinvest into yourself if you want to become bigger. Spend the money now to make the millions later. I get that. I completely understand that. For somebody that wants to be exactly like you, where should they start? If they want to come and they want to join your program, how can they find you?
On my Instagram at Andrew Lance. So it's Andrew like my name and then LANCE. They can just text me on there. I'm pretty much on there 24/7. We do have like weeks where we close down applications, then we open them back up. What I was saying earlier, it's really hard to scale right now, but we can't let in an unlimited amount of people. So we just have a conversation on Instagram. I make sure that you're actually fit for the academy, and I have to truly believe that I can actually help you. And then we'll go from there.
That's awesome. Yeah. So for anybody out there who wants to learn from Andrea, I'm going to put a link up where you can get in contact with him. That'll be in the description of this episode for anybody that wants to get in touch. How do you hope to make a positive act or contribution to society from what you're doing? Is your contribution teaching people how to make money? Are you big into charities? Or give us a little bit of a background on Andrea.
Yeah. So that's one thing I'm struggling with to this day, like my reason as to why I'm doing this. Because I was in Miami now with a mastermind, and every speaker who was out there speaking, their biggest motivation was they had a reason why. Whether it was they got to help retire their mom, or they want to help 1,000 people get in amazing shape, whatever it is, they had a good reason as to why they got out of bed every morning. I either haven't found that, or I'm struggling with really identifying it. Overall, my goal is to go back to Georgia and help that country advance, because right now I do think we're stuck overall the mentality of young people. I know the U.S. makes fun of the young people of the overall education system, saying that's made for slaves or matrix or 9 to 5, whatever, the rat race. Compared to where I'm from, that thing is absolutely amazing. There, it's way back. It's like the U.S. 40, 50 years ago. So my ultimate goal is to go back there and help these younger people change their mentality, which is why I'm trying to help my TikTok, my Instagram algorithm target more the Georgian audience, even though they're broke, just so they can even see my content, maybe learn something from it. So that is my ultimate goal. But overall, as reason is to me helping these people. It's more a matter of, I know a lot of guys are unhappy with their life, and I really do think that what we do is the best option from them getting to 0 to 10K a month. After that, that's not my specialty. I'm not going to lie to you. But 10K a month can really change a lot of people's lives from what I've seen.
Oh, absolutely. I believe the national average right now is like $39,000 a year, something in the U.S., or maybe 49, whatever it is. It's low. It's not enough to live. Everything's gone up 150, 200%. I mean, if you want to buy wood right now, it's up 200, 225%. Gas is up 125% over the last 4 years. Everything's gone up. So it's definitely harder for people to live, and people are struggling. And I feel people are reaching out more than ever to try to get these, let me get rich as quick as I can. And I think that's a big mistake of people. My biggest aspect of when I teach people, I don't want them to have that idea of getting rich as quick as they can. I want them to have that idea of how to replace their workable income as quick as they can. So you can actually step back, you can breathe, and now you can focus on building some wealth, which takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. We're not playing the lottery here. It's not a 1 in a million chance, or even worse than that. There's ways to do it. So ultimately, if you need, let's just say 1 day a week off of work, you need to make an extra $1,000 a month consistently. What's a way, a benefactor of getting that to erase that $1,000 a week of your workable income? So now instead of working 6 days a week, you can work 5 days a week. You could take that other day or two and learn different things like this, what you're doing, what I'm doing with real estate. Other things I do, I own a wholesale company. I buy truckloads, I buy pallets, Amazon returns, Target, Walmart, you name it, Lowe's, Home Depot. I buy it, I turn around and I resell it. I made 200 grand last year in profit just doing that. I made more last year on that than I do on real estate, and that's my side job. You may be shooting for one thing specifically, but there's always ways to do it. And I started off doing the pallets with $400 and change. And now I'm up to buying truckloads at $40,000 a pop with zero out of pocket. If I was to sell all of my products today, cash out, I'd probably have about 300 and change, and it's all profit. I can literally take every product that I have, throw it in the garbage, and I'm not losing any money. Because on my third pallet, I paid myself back that money and I just kept reinvesting. And I think that's a big issue with a lot of people. They don't know how and they don't know when to stop. In other words, they buy, let's use mine for an example. They buy a pallet, they invest, let's just say $500. They make $2,000. Instead of taking that $2,000 and dumping it back in, or taking their $500 back and putting the $1,500 back in, they take all the money and they're like, oh, I made $2,000. Let me go spend it. Let me go on a vacation. Let me buy that Coach or that Louis Vuitton bag I wanted. And that's a big issue with a lot of people. It's getting out of that mindset of you need to have material things. I am a multimillionaire. I don't need material things. Do I have something? Sure. But I'm not like your average millionaire. I don't need to have the Ferrari, the Lamborghini, the Bentley. I don't need that. My house is $700,000. I don't need a $2 million house. And that's what separates the difference from people. There's the people going out there who want to get rich, and I don't want to say for the wrong reasons, but for the unnecessary reasons. Don't worry about going from 0 to 100. Worry about going from 0 to 5. And then once you've mastered from 0 to 5 and you've replaced a portion of your income, now let's move to the rest of it. Okay, so you work 6 days a week. Now you can work 5. Now you can work 4. Now you can work 3, 2, etc. That's the way people need to be taught, and that's the way people really need to actually run a business and run their life. Everybody's impatient. Everybody wants to go from 0 to 100. And that's a big mistake. And it's very discouraging. When you're working that way, you're trying to build your life like that. Going from 0 to 100 is super discouraging. And you're going to give up and quit within 6 months because you might have only got from 0 to 10. And you're going to say, oh, it's not really worth it. I'm only free a day now instead of the 6-7 days I want it to be. That's not the way that works. What do you think about that? Do you agree with that statement? You know, how people are just trying too hard to go from 0 to 100, where they really just have to focus on taking step by step. I call them micro steps. Write down every step that you want to do. 10 steps to your success. Take those 10 steps and break them down into 100 steps. Now you're taking one step at each time. Every time you do one little step, congratulate yourself, pat yourself on the back. You accomplished something. You achieved something. Would you agree with that's a good way to learn and teach?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest reasons that people give up. But it's not that they don't want to do it. Everyone says they want to do it. They just don't want to do the work. So they do it for a week. And then they have this in mind. They want to go from 0 to 100. They want to look at Mount Everest from all the way at the bottom. And they're looking at all the way at the top. Same thing with writing out an essay. Because I'm at uni right now. When you sit down and you got to write like 6,000 words, you're extremely discouraged and you just end up procrastinating it. All you got to do is put one foot in front of the other and just think about the next 5 words, the next 5 words, the next 5 words. And it goes back to the Will Smith saying of building a wall brick by brick. What his dad is like, do not worry about building a great wall. All you have to worry about is placing this one brick as good as you possibly can. And doing it one after another, very soon you're going to have the perfect, best wall that's ever been built.
Yeah, 100%. I love that analogy. I've actually never heard that before, but I love that. It really is brick by brick, and it's discipline. When a lot of people say, oh, I need motivation, you don't need motivation. You don't need inspiration. You need discipline. It's about being disciplined. And I tell people all the time, what's one thing that you hate to do that you have to do in your life? Like, I hate reading a book. Okay, I want you to read a book every single month. I want you to do the things that make you uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is actually success. And that's why most people are not successful, because they don't want to be uncomfortable. In my business, in real estate, we call a lot of sellers to buy their properties, whether it's on terms, with cash, with debt. And I feel a lot of people are afraid to make that phone call and afraid to get that no. But that no factor is just one step closer to that yes. It's one step closer to you getting a property for little to nothing down. And of course, there's a way that you're going to hunt that property and you're going to find that perfect deal. But that perfect deal doesn't exist. And that's the other part of it. You have perfectionists out there who want to make everything perfect. You can't be that way. One thing that I learned, I used to own a commercial cleaning company, and this was one of my largest companies that I've ever owned. I sold it for mid six figures, my company. And that company, for the first 2.5-ish years, I ran incorrect. I was running that business side by side with the employees, working side by side with them. Once I stopped doing that and I learned to trust people, which was very hard for me. It's extremely hard for me to trust other people. But once I learned to do that, I got 10 times further, 10 times faster, in 10 times the less time. If something took me a year, it only took me 2 months now to get to that place. You have to learn how to run your life and your business, your company from the top, not from the day-to-day. Don't worry about the day-to-day. There should be somebody there working and running the day-to-day for you. You need to look at the overall. We've had people on this podcast that own 4, 5, 6,000 properties. On top of that, 450, 500 businesses. Do you think that person goes into work every single day and clocks in right next to you to 450, 500 businesses? No. Do you think when a tenant has an issue, they pick up the phone and call that person? No. But what I can guarantee you is they've never seen those properties, most likely. They've definitely never met those tenants, probably never met most of their employees, but their net worth is in the 10 figures. That's realistically what it takes to run a business from what I've seen for everybody, especially the people that are really successful. They've learned how to run a business from the top, not for the day-to-day. When you hand somebody the reins, there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be errors. There's going to be things that piss you off. But that's okay. That's life and that's human beings. But you have to accept that. Now, with your business, is this something you do? I know you said bringing on a coach. Do you have a partner with this? Is this your business? Tell us a little bit about the setup of your company.
Sure. So yeah, for the mentorship, right now it is just me, and we do have a couple of client success managers, but overall, the main guy, it is just me. And then with what you were saying about there, I completely agree with that because I was struggling with the exact same thing when I was running my agency. When I was full-time on the agency, we were stuck at the 10K a month mark for 3 months because, as you said, I was working in the business and not on the business. I was the one taking the sales calls or calling up leads in the Instagram inbox 24/7. And it wasn't until I realized that we were able to scale to the 25, 30K months when I transitioned my mental frame from do not work in the business, work on the business. But for both things, you have to answer your questions. It is just me. The agency is literally just me, and we got 4 VAs and then 2 setters. And then for the mentorship, it is just me as the main guy. And then we got 2 client success managers that just check in with the students on a daily basis.
Awesome. Yeah, we love to hear that, man. Look, again, congrats on your success. Is there any last thing you want to put out there for the audience? Anything you want to say for the audience? Whether it's, look, this is the mentality you need to have, this is the physical attribution you need to have, or a little motivation for them. Even though I don't really believe in motivation, discipline, but what can you say to our audience to get them out of that 9 to 5 that they're in?
For me, the biggest thing that made the change, and I do think that this is the most important thing in both business and in life, is just having the right mental mindset. Just everything that happens in life, if you are religious, then you're a huge advantage, which is why I'm a huge believer in God. Jason, I don't know if that's a cross underneath your t-shirt there, but just believing in God and gamifying your whole life. Your video is cutting out, but I don't know. Is that a cross? Yeah, it is. All right, there we go. Perfect. But yeah, I'm a huge believer in God, and I do think that gamifying life and looking at everything from that perspective, if something bad happens, and you think to yourself, okay, this is sent for me from God to see how strong I am, to see if I deserve the next thing that he has ready for me. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, if you're Muslim, if whatever you are, it doesn't really matter. Just as long as you believe in a higher power and you're here to serve him, then I do think that you're a big advantage compared to everyone else out there.
You are probably, out of the 12 or 13 guests we've had on here so far, you're probably number 9 that puts God first, including myself. The higher power is definitely a big part of what we do. I count all of my blessings with God and Jesus for everything that I've obtained in life, and of course, my family. And when you're not focusing directly on the money, will come. It'll come, but stop focusing on every single dollar that you're trying to make and just do what you're doing or what you love to do. You could turn, especially today, you could turn a business of what you love to do that maybe most people don't even find remotely interesting. But as long as there's somewhat of a niche out there, you know how to find those people, how to attract those people, you will be successful in what you do. You just have to stick to it and not let the noise surround you too much. And one of the biggest things that I found, and I hope you can agree with me on this, Once I blocked all the noise around me, which are mainly the people who are closest to me, once I blocked that out and realized, why am I taking advice from people who are working 12-hour days, 10-hour days, and living month to month or even year to year? Why am I taking the advice of those people? I only want to learn from people who are better than me. I want to learn from somebody who's making $2-3 million a year, $100 million a year. I don't want to learn from somebody on making $40,000, $50,000 a year. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that brings us back to our education system. And I know we brought that up before. Our education system, it really is, how do I put this without sounding great? But our education system really isn't education. It's not. You're not learning the basics of life. You're just learning, of course, spelling and a little bit of math is important, but you're not learning how to actually use a credit card, what credit is, how to maintain a good credit score, how to invest your money, how to take risks, really limited risks or educational risks, or you're not really learning how to build success in life. You're only learning how to be a worker bee, get as good of an education as you can, go as far as you can, put yourself in as much debt as you possibly can, and then we'll help you to pay it off with a $50,000 a year job. When it comes to somebody going to school, I don't want to name a person, but I know someone who went to school, $295,000 in debt. They ended up not even doing the job that they went to school for because they couldn't find work. Mind-blowing. I didn't go to college. I went to one. I immediately knew this was not for me. I'm an entrepreneur. Before I even went to college, I owned 3 companies. It wasn't for me. I knew right away, you either have it or you don't. And if you don't have it, you can be taught to have a big piece of building that success. You just have to surround yourself with the right people, and you need to be disciplined. Discipline is the number one factor, and you do need to believe in a higher power. I completely agree with you. And to be honest, my chain was like under my shirt, tucked in. I don't know how you saw that. That was pretty good. That's pretty good. We're not sitting next to each other. We are literally across the world from each other right now. And he did see my chain underneath my shirt. Very impressive. You have a good keen eye. All right. As always, do you have any last words for our audience? Anything you want to say to them? And please tell them where they can find you one more time. And we will put it in the description as well.
Absolutely. Just be a little honest, it goes back to what I was saying. So number 1, believe in a God. Number 2, just put one foot in front of the other. Don't worry about going from 0 to 100. Worry about going from 0 to 1. Then repeating that over and over. And as you said, do not chase money. When you chase money, it runs, going back to the mighty pit bull, just serve a higher purpose and everything will come to you. As long as you don't lie, as long as you stay consistent, and you really do have ambitions in life, stay consistent, everything will come to you.
I agree. I love that. And again, we'll have the description where you can find access to get into this program. Andrea, thank you very much. We really appreciate you coming on the show. For everybody out there, do not forget, we have a contest going on right now for a free rental property. There's absolutely nothing you have to pay. Just go to www.stopchasingstartlistening.com. You'll see the sign-up registration. There is a disclosure to it, so the property is going to be based on terms, but we will set up that property for you. We will throw a tenant, and you will be cash flowing at least $300 a month. So please enter in that. You have a couple months to the end of that contract. Again, that's at stopchasingstartlistening.com. Thank you very much, everybody. This is Jason Chrisman. As always, keep grinding.
Thanks for sticking it out with us to the end. As always, if you enjoy our show, please subscribe so you don't miss any of our episodes, guest appearances, or education in the world of investing. Till next time.